Yeah. And then your next question is, how is it grown? For the reasons I stated earlier, you want it to be organic, because if there's pesticides in there, they're all going to be in the plant. Now, certified organic is not necessary. My products are certified organic because I just really wanted to, I really wanted that, to people to know that I took that extra step to make sure it's safe. There are plenty of farmers out there growing hemp and vegetables and whatever else, which are using organic practices, but they don't jump through all the hoops to get certified, because that's very expensive and time consuming. In fact, if I'd known how time consuming it was, I might not have pursued it, but I'm glad I did. So you want to make sure it's organically produced. And then you would want to ideally look for a full spectrum product, which I touched on before. Full spectrum means it has all the cannabinoids in the plant, as well as all the other compounds, the terpenes and flavonoids and everything else. I have a little thing here. So full spectrum would have everything. Broad spectrum has everything except the THC, this pink one. They've removed the THC, so they can call it a THC-free product, but it has everything else in it. And then CBD isolate is they isolate the CBD molecule, and everything else is removed. This is what a lot of the high dose CBD products are. The CBD products are getting more and more potent. It used to be that like 1,000 milligrams in a bottle was pretty potent. Now you can get them like at 5,000 milligrams, but it's usually CBD isolate, or if it says full spectrum, it's got a little bit of full spectrum oil, and then they boost it all up with isolate. So CBD isolate is, almost all the beneficial compounds of the hemp are removed from that, and it's only CBD. So you have to take a lot more of this to get any kind of beneficial effect.
So it's like whole grain bread versus white bread. It's still bread, but they're removed.
Or like orange juice. You can get an orange and squeeze it yourself at home. Great. Or you can buy like orange juice from concentrate and then scoop it out, frozen stuff out with a spoon and mix it in. Or you can get like a vitamin C pill. So we're moving up the spectrum from full spectrum to like full-ish to just one isolated ingredient.
Basically, the more processed it is, the less valuable it is to you. And what I've come to find is that if you're getting something so processed, it's more for your own convenience rather than your benefit.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. The consideration with people looking for THC-free CBD products is drug testing. So drug testing, but it's not a guarantee. So everyone used to say, oh, if you have to be drug tested for work or whatever, then take a broad spectrum or a CBD isolate, because they don't have any THC and you'll be good. Unfortunately, a lot of the drug tests aren't sensitive enough to tell the difference between CBD and THC. So they just look for cannabinoids, and they can't differentiate the two. So even if you're taking a CBD isolate product, you can still test positive for THC. It's a lower risk, but the risk is still there. And hopefully that'll change as cannabis becomes more and more accepted, as it is very fast. Hopefully the drug testing thing won't be so much of a problem, because I talked to so many people who would love to take it, but they can't because of their job. But I would like to say you can use a CBD topical without any fear of testing positive for a drug test.
So getting into kind of who is CBD for, who should be taking it for what. So for myself, I take it for both topical and internal physical pain. And then I also take it for emotional support too, when it comes to my anxiety or panic attacks. So who should be taking this? Who is CBD for?
CBD really is for practically anybody. There hasn't really been, well, let me back up. So CBD has been approved as a drug by the FDA in one form, and only for children with severe seizures. So a lot of people ask, well, can my kid take CBD? And I'm like, well, I can't tell you your kid can take CBD, but this form of it has been FDA approved for children. There are actually, as I said before, we make our own cannabinoids. So there's cannabinoids in breast milk. Your kids are getting cannabinoids even if they're not from hemp. But anyway, I wouldn't hesitate to give my kids CBD, but I'm not going to tell you or someone else to give it to your kid.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, it's really extremely safe for anybody, with a huge caveat that it does interact with medications. And that's important to know. It's probably not a huge issue if you're taking kind of regular over-the-counter doses of CBD. I think it's more of an issue with high doses, but it does interact with lots and lots of medications. The big ones to watch out for are blood thinners, cancer, chemo, and seizure medications. But if you're on medications and your doctor told you shouldn't have grapefruit juice with your medication, which grapefruit interacts also, then that's a red flag that maybe you should look into for taking CBD. Grapefruit and CBD both act the same way on the liver enzymes that drugs are metabolized by. So they can make you have like a little too much medication or a little too little medication in your system.
Wow, that's so interesting. That's really good to know. I mean, I love something that can be very universal. I've had a couple of people interested in CBD, and I did ask them if they were on medications, because I think we had talked about that before. And both of those people were on blood thinners for different reasons. So I was like, oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Everybody but you. But
so that means my mom is on Coumadin, for instance, which is a blood thinner, the one that you have to go get your blood tested every couple of weeks to make sure you're in range. And if you're on a drug like, she does take CBD, if you're on a drug like that, it doesn't mean you can't take it. It just means you need to run it by your doctor, and then you need to, for her with Coumadin, she needs to take it consistently, because with Coumadin also interacts with green leafy vegetables. So she can't eat like a huge spinach salad one day and then nothing the next several days. She has to keep it consistent. And similarly, she keeps her CBD use consistent, because if it was really high one day and really low the next day, then it could mess with her drug levels, which could mess with her blood levels.
Okay, so it's not much that it's not for someone with a blood thinner or going through something else. It's more of, make sure you check with your doctor to make sure the interaction between those specific medications and CBD is going to be okay.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of doctors don't know very much about CBD, and they'll just say, oh, stay away from it to be on the safe side. And another issue is there hasn't been that many studies about drug interactions. Most of the cautions are theoretical, like which enzymes that work to metabolize these drugs, but there have been almost zero reports of anybody being impacted by a medication reaction.
Okay.
There was one case report of someone on Coumadin.
I know that you have a website and a blog. Do you have any information that someone could go and read about? Like, do you, as an herbalist and a nurse yourself, do you have any kind of educated materials where people can kind of go and look for those kind of answers?
Yeah, so I have 2 free guides that are available on my website. One is about dosing, which that's the most common question I get, is how much CBD should I take, which is it doesn't have a simple answer. So I wrote a whole guide about how to determine your dose. So that's freely available on my website. And then I have another guide about how to shop for safe and effective CBD, which kind of touched on some of those things earlier. But yeah, so if you go to my website, up on the menu, there's a freebies tab, and you can get both of those free down there. And I also have a FAQ section on my website that has a bunch of questions and answers.
Great. So let's get into some of the fun stuff, because I love going to the farmer's market and seeing your display of products. So I'm hoping you brought some with you, because I would love to learn what your favorite products are and why, and also what your most popular products are and why.
Okay. Well, I'll start with this one. This is my joint relief CBD rub, which is one of my best-selling products, possibly the best-selling product I've ever had. It was one of the first products I made. The rubs, I have 4 different varieties of rubs, but this is the most popular. And these are just hemp-infused coconut oil with essential oils in them. That's all, different essential oils for different purposes. And if you've ever cooked with coconut oil, you know that the texture changes dramatically due to the temperature. So if it's cold, coconut oil will be really, really hard. If it's really cold in your house, it'll like bend the spoon when you're trying to get it out. And then it starts to melt. It's got a melting point of 76 degrees. So it'll be pretty soft up to that. And then above 76, it'll actually start to melt. On a hot day, it'll be totally liquid. So having that was an issue with it being in stores. Stores didn't like that. You know, they'd have something like this. Nobody expects something in this kind of container to be liquid. So people open it and spill it. And so I wanted to make something more shelf stable. So I have body butters also, and these are hemp infused coconut MCT oil with beeswax and shea butter and essential oils. So these I love. They're really like luxurious and wonderful feeling. Yeah. Then that one I have in 4 different varieties also. So again, my joint relief one, this is my best selling one. I also have one that has arnica in it. For those who don't know, arnica is a herb that's been used for millennia mostly for acute injuries, like you got a sprain, a broken bone, you're sore from post-workout soreness. But actually a lot of more recent information is coming out to show that arnica is quite effective for chronic joint pains also.
Nice.
And then I have a couple. I have this body butter and a rub in the head and neck variety, which I created these because I get a lot of headaches, and I did have extremely bad chronic migraines for a year or so before I got those under control. So these have more essential oils. They have kind of the big 3 headache oils of peppermint, lavender, and eucalyptus. And yeah, I gotta say my head and neck body butter is for sure one of my favorite ones. And also I have the lavender citrus body butter. I just had to make one of my favorite scent combination, and I really love that. Yeah. And then the other topical I have, well, sort of a topical, this is just a CBD coconut oil. This is just hemp infused coconut oil with nothing else added. So you can use this as a rub, put it on topically, or you can take it internally. You can eat it with a spoon or stir it into food or drink. And yeah, it's the most versatile product I have. So yeah, those are all my topicals. And then I have CBD oils, which are hemp infused coconut MCT oil. And I have my original strength that I started with. This is 500 milligrams and 2 ounces. And then I wanted a more potent one. I couldn't make it more potent myself because there's only so much plant matter you can pack into an oil. Otherwise it just won't, it won't work. Like try, thinking about taking this much tea leaves and putting a tablespoon of water in it. You're not going to get any tea out of that. So I have a more potent one that I boost with a hemp concentrate. That I don't make myself, but it also is made with Vermont grown hemp, made right here in Vermont. And then I started making bath salts. So I have CBD bath salts in 5 different varieties, and that's just a blend of different salts: Epsom salt, Dead Sea salt, and pink salt with CBD and different essential oils. And I also started making toffees because people always ask me for gummies all the time. And I experimented with making gummies, but in order to make a shelf-stable gummy, you really have to use all these kind of ingredients I wasn't really willing to use. So I was like, well, what can I make that doesn't use weird ingredients?
Right.
And toffees, I mean, they're full of sugar, so there's a downside there, but it's all ingredients you would have at your house, really. Yeah. They're basically half sugar and half butter. They're really good. And and then I put a hemp concentrate in these too. So yeah, that's all the products I have. And nice. So it's gotten to be a pretty well-rounded group of products. I'm thinking about making kind of a CBD body oil / massage oil. I've got that percolating in my brain for the future, maybe.
So I know my mom, she has arthritis in her spine, and your rubs have been literally one of the only things that if she consistently puts it like right down her spine on a daily basis, it's relieving. Where if she takes medication, normally it takes longer to kick in. And, you know, there are other side effects with pain medication as well. And this was something that, like I said, within kind of that 15-20 minute time span, it was just muted. It was just gone. And I know that I feel with my experience with a variety of pain medications, I don't know, they just don't fully work. You know, they don't, I can't really explain it on like a chemical level, but for her, it was wonderful. I actually bought her one before my grandmother passed away, and my grandmother used it like the whole tub. She knew where it was, and she used it for her hands and her knees. And I remember asking my mom, because she had mentioned that she was out, and I was just like, I just bought you a container. Where did it go? And she said, Dad, I used it all. So that has been very, very beneficial for her arthritis. For myself, I absolutely love the oils. People ask me, how do I deal with my really strong bouts of insomnia? So I make a tea, any kind of tea, whatever tea you enjoy. I enjoy sleepy time tea. I put that in there. I put in a full squeeze of the CBD and valerian root. And it's been a game changer without having to take a sleep medication and then wake up the next day feeling groggy and foggy, and you're drinking coffee and trying to like get that medication in your system. The CBD and the valerian root, they just kind of like become one, and then they just
nice.
go away, and you wake up, I don't know, refreshed, and it's absolutely wonderful. And then I have tried your bath salts. Amazing. I actually purposefully didn't use it all, because every time I have a friend or a guest, usually my girlfriends, they're like, oh, you know, we're gonna take a bath. I said, all right, put a quarter cup of this in your bath. You will be ready for bed. And we are kind of all on the same, not assumption. We've come to the realization that post bath, and you start feeling it in the bath, you just kind of sink into the tub a little bit more, and you just feel relaxed. And not to mention, it smells amazing. And then you get out of the tub, and you don't want to watch TV. You don't want to pick up your phone. You know, you do just kind of want to get into bed and sink under your covers, and it's amazing. So this has been like, I've learned some things. I hope that our viewers have learned some things too. And to kind of like wrap things up, as a nurse, a business owner, and you know, a believer in CBD, which I am as well, and hopefully some people have gained some insight and more knowledge from you as I have. What is one thing that you would like people to walk away from today? What is one thing you want them to kind of like apply to their life or understand going forward?
I would say if you're going to experiment with CBD, get a high quality product. Don't mess around with substandard products, and give it a chance to work. With the dosing, it can be complicated, or it can be tricky enough so that people have to use some trial and error with dosing. So the basic rule with dosing is start low, go slow. So you would want to start with a really little dose, and then go up every 2 or 3 days, step your dose up, and don't be afraid to go to a high dose. I would say an average dose is, I mean, there's no standardized dosing for CBD, but a common dose is anywhere between like 4 milligrams and 60 milligrams. There's plenty of people who take over 100 milligrams. So it's really broad range. So a lot of times people will be like, oh, I tried CBD, it didn't work for me. But they like took the dosage that it said on the bottle for a couple of days. You know, CBD doesn't work that way. You really need to give it a chance to work and experiment with dosing to find your right dose. If you're lucky, your dose might be 4 milligrams. It's a tiny dose. But I know someone, like a guy I work with, he was taking Benadryl every single night for years to sleep, which is not good for you. And he switched to my CBD, and his dose is 4 milligrams, which is tiny. Other people would get nothing from 4 milligrams. They might need 50 milligrams to sleep. For sleep, actually, the dosage needs to be a little higher in general to sleep. The small doses can be a little too stimulating for some people to sleep. So yeah, get a quality product, take the time to figure out your dose, give it time to work. It's not a miracle thing. You know, if you've got joint pain that's plagued you for 20 years, you're not going to take CBD once and have
Right.
it go away.
Right.
No, and a lot of times it's got a cumulative effect. So like to act on inflammation, it's going to start acting with the first dose, and certainly plenty of people will feel it within 20 or 30 minutes. But if you use it every day, it's going to knock down that inflammation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I brought up my mom using it consistently over time. That pain was muted more often than not, instead of having to constantly take a medication and wait for it to kick in. So yeah, no, definitely. I love that. That's such great advice. Now, if people want to try your product or get in touch with you or just simply educate themselves more, how can they do that?
So my website is primalbotanical.com, and I'm on all social media as Primal Botanical. Like I said, I have those 2 downloadable guides that are available for free. I try to be active on Facebook and Instagram. I don't do nearly as good a job as you do, Hannah. But yeah, that would be the place to find me, is on Facebook and Instagram, and my website.
Awesome. That's great. Well, Annika, oh man, thank you so much. I absolutely loved having you on here today. And like I told everybody before, I'm very familiar with Annika. She was actually one of the nurses during my knee surgery, and it just made me feel just safer going under the knife, having her there. And she's taught me a lot. So I really want to encourage all of you to reach out to Annika, ask her your questions, check out her free guides, and do not be afraid to try something new, and make sure that you always have high quality products.
And feel free to, anybody can message me on Instagram or Facebook or email me with questions. I answer people's questions all the time. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Annika. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Hannah. I really appreciate it. Bye, everybody.